Hey guys, I think we broke a record today. Before the show came on, 1967 kid, welcome to the show. He sends this message: Hector, TPG, respect, much love, and respect from Puerto Rico. Before the show even came on, man. I mean, that's
Dang,
how
dude.
famous Hector is, or
Yeah.
well known in the law enforcement and also non-law enforcement world. That's so cool, man.
Hey,
Bienvenido
thanks, Hector.
to the show. And we got Seamus. Hey, Seamus Donahue. Hope everyone got back safely for Burning Man. And the Bud Light. Brian Wilkinson. What's up, Hector? Hector is the man. A huevo. Here we go. All right, guys. Guys, listen, I'm excited. Let's get started right away. Let's do our shout outs. We'll start off with you, Sean. I know you have a surprise shout out. Go ahead,
Oh,
brother.
Yeah, I got a big surprise shout out, and actually, it's for you, Dave.
What?
You went through that hurricane last week. I was about an hour and a half away from you, and I didn't hear a, help me, help me, help me. And you took it. You took care of your family and all that. And another bigger shout out is you out in Cali taking care of your mom. I think that's the greatest thing right there.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Much appreciated, man. You know what, Benny? I feel so bad because we had Robert Almonte waiting online. Pero sabes que, like I told you, the electricity was going on and off. We were right in the hurricane. So even if we would have had him on, the show would have been messed up because, like I said, electricity was going on and off every hour or so. So, but you know what? I know we're having him back. You'll talk about that. Before we do, Chalo, any shout outs, brother?
just shout out to everybody who's been able to keep up with these damn storms. I mean, it's been hitting them both on the West Coast and on the East Coast. And for all our viewers, man, that tune in every week, thank you for showing up, man. I really appreciate you guys watching us. It really means a lot to me.
Amen, brother. Thank you, viewers, for watching us. Matilde, welcome to the show. El Cid and everybody else. With that said, Benny, I know you have a couple of shout outs. Let's ring them out. We'll start off with you. Go ahead, Benny.
Well, I got a surprise text message from an officer in Pelican Bay. You know, I want to thank all the correctional officers at Pelican Bay, especially Sergeant Brian Chaucer, whose assignment is supervising the investigative services unit, the security squad, and the gang investigations in Pelican Bay. And he watches. I mean, he said these guys are watching. He's watching. He said he's been around working Pelican Bay for 22 years. Also, a big shout out to Lieutenant Jeremy Frisk, who was at Pelican Bay and has moved on to other assignments. On behalf of our team on the Gray Line podcast, we want to thank the men and women at Pelican Bay and San Quentin
Thank you,
who
brothers.
follow our podcast. Thank you all. Another shout out is to a lady named Justine. She's a correctional officer in Florida. Justine is the host of Checking In podcast. She discusses issues with the job, fellow officers, officer safety, and the inmates. It's all good stuff. You know, please go check out her channel and hit the subscribe button. You got to find her podcast on Apple and Spotify podcast. I mean, she said they've been watching us for a while too. So awesome. I mean, thank you all.
Well, all the way from Florida, and then we have our brother here all the way from Puerto Rico. Thank you for watching. Matilde, all the way from Nebraska. Man, we got good people today. Guys, I'm going to be real quick. I want to throw a quick shout out to Fausto Atilano, one of my good friends. I've known Fausto since 1984. We both started with the California Department of Corrections together. We started at CMC, California Men's Colony. There I went to Donovan, activated Donovan. He went to Chino, Palm Hall, worked there for 2 or 3 years, I believe, with Joe Morgan and all the main guys in Palm Hall. Today's 63rd birthday. Camarada, blessings to you and your family. Feliz cumpleaños. With that said, Benny, it's all yours. Introduce our great guest today.
Well, we got a lot of people waiting for this. I mean, joining us again is Hector Bravo. Hector is a combat veteran deployed to Iraq in 2004. After receiving an honorable discharge, he joined the California Department of Corrections and rose through the ranks of officer, sergeant, and lieutenant. Hector served the Department of Corrections for 16 years. Hector has experienced numerous violent incidents, such as stabbings, assaults on staff, riots, and even murders. Hector served on the tactical response team as a certified tactical operator and hostage negotiator. He would later become a tactical commander. It's like a SWAT team in a regular major city, you know. Today, Hector trains civilians and law enforcement officers in leadership, development, and the mindset to survive a violent encounter. He is a world of knowledge with strong morals and values. Hector also has a podcast that prison guard. Thank you for joining us, Hector.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, man. It's great to see everybody.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Hey,
I saw. I'm sorry. I saw your podcast this past week, Hector. It's pretty interesting.
Cool, man. Yeah, I kind of get wild with it,
Happy
man.
party, but it was good, bro.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, Hector, you're getting all kinds of shout outs, man, from Puerto
I
Rico,
see that.
from all over the place, brother.
I see everybody right there. Thank you guys for showing up, man. These guys are
That's cool.
regulars.
Let's see how chingon Hector is. If we get one from the shoe and Pelican Bay or something like that, with somebody in there.
All right, I'll make one up right now. All right, Benny, let's rock and roll, man. We got a great show.
So, Hector, we want to see that excitement. Your arms flying all over the place.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it.
So before we start, tell us what milestone you have reached on your podcast channel. How many people are following you now? And please tell us how long it's been since you walked away from the California Department of Corrections. How does it feel to have so many co-workers and listeners supporting you? How does it feel?
It feels surreal and it feels humbling. Both of those things. Like I could have never have pictured it to be how it is right now. I just hit 19,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And that is in a 9-month period because I left December 1st. And I never set a goal as to, hey, I want to have this many subscribers by this many time, or tell you the truth, I didn't know how this shit was gonna play out. So like to see the support, it's humbling. I feel grateful, gratitude. But just like with everything I do in my life, I don't get too highs with the highs as much as I don't get too lows with the lows. I try to keep it even keel.
Hey, Hector, let me ask you a personal question. Is Greñas Ezequiel Rivera by any chance?
No.
Santo, Lieutenant, te ves bien cortado, G.
Hey, Greñas is a huge hit, man. I was with my wife with my wife the other day, and there was a friend of hers. She's like, "Hey, estás cortado, G." And my wife's like, "Oh, she loves your show." I'm like, damn.
That is great, man. All right, Benny, let's start. Let's go.
Hector, don't give it up, man. Keep that mystery.
That's funny.
So Hector, when you were with us on June 20th, your power went out, and then when you came back, we stopped talking about. We had originally started talking. We were talking about an inmate who had tied a shank between his fingers or hand. As you started to talk about it, your camera froze. When we returned, we went into another subject. Do you remember that? Let's talk about that if you remember.
Absolutely. I was a brand new sergeant. You have to understand, I had 8 years as an officer already, but I only had 3 months as a sergeant. So that's just a whole nother role and responsibility. And I was on Delta Yard, RJD, formerly known as the 4 Yard. It was on a Sunday. It was like February 8th or something. And 8 p.m. at night, the HS meds where the inmates get their sleep medication and the alarm goes off in housing unit 17. It's like, as a sergeant, you don't have to run and you don't have to all out sprint to get over there. That's what the officer's job is. But like something told me to run over there. Plus I wasn't doing anything. And so I was like, I'm just going to run. And when I got there, I see an inmate in the center of the day room where the officer's podium is. And like 2 officers kind of doggy pile him. And my mind is like scrambling, trying to figure out what's happening. And I thought, okay, if this is a one-on-one fight between 2 inmates, where is the other inmate? And I'm looking around. I don't see another one. So I had my baton expanded because that's the way they taught us at Centinela State Prison. They taught us before you go into a housing unit, you expand your baton because at Calipat, the inmates had ambushed the officers by waiting on both sides of the sally port, the rotunda. So when they came in, they attacked them. And that's kind of why we do what we do. And, the officer yelled, "He stabbed me, Sarge." And I looked down at his hand. He was prone down on his stomach. His right hand was out, like knuckles down, palm down. And I could see the shank, the inmate manufactured weapon exposed. And since I already had my baton out, I just came down on his right forearm with all my might. And I broke his forearm. I cracked him. But when I cracked him, he brought it behind him, right? He wailed and he brought it behind him. And then that's when that same officer yelled, he has it tied to his hand. And, his tunnel vision happens, auditory exclusion, the flight or fight. And like I zoomed in. Yes, this dude had he tore the bed sheets from his bed. And I'm pretty sure his cellmate helped him tie it to his hand, because there's no way one person could tie it with the way it was tied using one hand. And, man, dude, for the next freaking 5 minutes, myself and responding staff and on-scene staff proceeded to keep it real with you, stomp this guy out, hit him with batons, kind of in an attempt to get him to drop the knife, but clearly he cannot drop the knife. He's still an active threat throughout all of this. Not that I have to say that all use of force was within policy, but hey, that's just all use of force was within policy, considering we could have killed him. It met the criteria for lethal force. And one of the officers, wasn't even me. One of the officers, shout out to him. He's from Brawley. He said, hey, throw down the cut down tool. Go get the cut down tool, which up in the control booth, they have the ambu bag when the inmates overdose or hang themselves or die. They have a cut down tool. It's a pair of shears, medical shears. And they brought it down. They were able to cut the knife off his hand, and we put him in handcuffs. And it was just, I want to say that's when the mess began. The mess began, sorting out who was who, what was what. I came from Centinela State Prison, where it was all gang members. The inmate that stabbed this officer was white. I instantly thought, oh my God, all the whites put a hit on a staff member, because that's what I was used to. That's normal to think that way. And turned out the guy was just a weirdo. He was a level 4 who was override onto a level 3 yard, EOP, which is mentally ill. And he was high on meth for 5 days. This guy was just a one-man mission, just a weirdo.
Wow. Sean, go ahead, Sean.
So there's drugs in the jail? I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
Stupid Chalo.
Hey, I was a street cop, man. There's drugs in the jail?
Plenty.
Hey, Hector, good to see you again, brother.
Likewise, man.
What is considered a sexual violent predator within the CDCR, and what is CDCR's protocol in handling that type of inmate?
All right, so that kind of differs within CDCR. So if you're outside or you're a civilian and you hear of a sexual violent predator, that might raise an alarm, or that might, cause people to be on high alert. In there, who knows? They're practically, not going to say they are all sexual violent predators, but I mean, on an SNY yard, you can have a lot of sexual violent predators, guys with multiple rapes on their jacket, child molestation charges, let alone child molestation charges with their own family members, which is number one. All of that is all bad and disgusting. But I mean, there is no end with these guys. They're animals, they're monsters. When it comes to sexual violent predators, it doesn't matter which way. The ones that really look into that are the counselors. The counselors, when it comes to hey, can we put this guy in a level 1 minimum yard for housing purposes? But if you're an officer on the yard with these guys, you could have a lot, man. You could have a handful, 2 handfuls. One thing that I did encounter at RJD, Donovan, there's a lot of individuals that masturbate, IEX, indecent exposure, masturbation with exposure and without exposure. And they will do this all day long, man. There are protocols for that. You have to send out an email to the psychologist, to the warden, to the chief deputy warden, to everybody and their mom. But to tell you the truth, there are no repercussions as far as they're going to go and jack off right again the next shift or the next day. They're just weird with it. They have a lot of sitters, like psychologist sitters or nurses, psych techs that'll sit on them when they're on one-to-one observation. Let's say they made allegations that they want to harm themselves, right? Malingering, milking the system, saying, oh, I want to kill myself, only because they want a female to sit on their door. Damn, I can't believe I'm saying this. This feels liberating. And they can masturbate to them. Let me tell you this. When they get a male on their door, They will act up. They will throw a fit. They will become combative. They'll gas the male, all because they want a female to sit at the door so they can masturbate to them. To me, those are fucking monsters, pigs.
Hey, Hector, you 1967 kid wanted me to read this. Hector, my son passed the test. In his group going some full training. Thank you very much. The phone call helped me to push him, and he is doing good. Gracias, Hector. You made a phone call for him. Very grateful.
Yeah. I talked to him. His son's going into law enforcement, so it's all good, man. I keep contact with all my viewers and stuff, or try to.
Good. One last question from Gangster. What happened to Brian? I don't know who Brian is. You know who he's talking about?
No.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Big Sean.
Okay. Hey, Hector, what is a 50-50 yard? Who gets put in there, and who decides who goes into those types of yards? And does every prison have one? And a follow-up question, can a level 4 inmate be on a 50-50 yard?
Good question. I had always heard the terminology 50-50 yard. I have never worked a 50-50 yard per se, but I guess you could say I have. If that's what they consider 50-50 yards, then yeah, they were 50-50 yards. But when I first got to Donovan, Alpha Yard, which is formerly known as the 1 yard, had two buildings. Building 1 and Building 2 were EOP. You can't be a Mexican Southsider and be on any type of psych meds and or that type of program, but you would have Southern Hispanics in there. Supposedly, they kept them separate from buildings 3, 4, and 5, but they didn't. I mean, they were walking to chow and stuff. So that would be a 50-50 yard, meaning that 2 of the buildings are no good or deemed no good by the inmate population, and the other 3 are good, general population. Now, this is me talking like inmate politics. What you have now is called non-designated programming, NDPF. So every level 1, practically level 2, and the fire camps. Oh boy, I made a video on this yesterday or today. Basically, what they just got was GP, general population inmates, and SNY inmates, and threw them together and let them fight it out to the death. And the ones that were remaining, they just called them, boom, now you guys are non-designated program. So it's like, you know, even they didn't, the administration didn't even tell us they were going to do that. It's just, what the hell is a non-designated person? They're like, oh, well, they're no longer GP or SNY. But you look at their whole history, like, yeah, you got a sexual violent predator, one guy, and then you got a freaking gang member active in the same area. That should never happen. And
Damn.
Your last question, will it and can it work on a level 4 yard? No, absolutely not. Level 4 GP, no. They're going to kill everybody, literally.
Hey, Hector, we got a question for Seamus Donahue. This Seamus Donahue, he reads up on everything, man. He always sends pretty interesting questions. What yard were the Menendez brothers on?
Echo Yard, E Yard. That's a separate yard that they built outside of Donovan. Outside of the main facility, they built an additional level 2 non-designated, where you got those mixed people out there, non-designated. The 2 brothers are out there. It's
okay, John,
dorm setting.
Hey, so Hector, I mean, this is a fully loaded question, bro. This is like a friggin' an AK-47 or AR-15 with 120 round mag.
Shoot it.
Yeah, here you go, bro. So Hector, so check this out. Has the level of training changed? Has it changed within CDCR from the time you went into the academy? And if it has, what are those changes? And hold on. Additionally, and we can go back based on your experience, what type of training is missing from the academy curriculum, and what kind of changes would you like to see now that you've had more experience?
So all you guys have a lengthy career experience in law enforcement, for sure. I think you guys can agree that the departments and agencies, they like to go through phases. Flavor of the month, I like to call them. 1 month, they'll focus on sexual harassment training. They drive it into everybody. Sexual harassment. Next, EEO, freaking de-escalation techniques. And I always caught on to what was the flavor of the month, and then I would just solely focus on that and just give a fuck off everything else. I care less. They weren't paying attention to anything else anyways. So when I came in 2006, the training was Code of Silence. Code of Silence, the green wall, You guys are all banding together, beating up inmates. Mind you, I'm brand new off the streets. I'm like, I don't know what code of silence is. I don't know what the green wall is. Right? I don't know. They're just fucking force feeding you this shit. If you see your partner do something wrong, tell on him. If you don't tell on him, both of you guys are gonna get fired. What else would they say? They don't pay your bills. I remember now that we're on the subject. They don't pay your bills, so why would you back them up under an investigation? I'm like, yeah. Again, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I could care less, right? I'm just trying to get through these fucking 4 months and get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, it doesn't. It's the academy. They taught us karate moves and yelling like, Kia, get down. Right, that was like self-defense. They didn't teach you how to box. They did not teach you how to do MMA or nothing like that. Baton training. The way it's changed now over the years and the state of California and political views, they went away from use of force. They went away from use of force, meaning, in other words, they're trying to say we don't want you to use force at all without actually saying we don't want you to use force at all. Which is very dangerous. It's very dangerous, and that's not the correct message to put out. Because they started the whole de-escalation training. And de-escalation is absolutely great and amazing. Trust me, your words is the most powerful, and your brain thinking is the most powerful tool that you have. But come on, man, when you have brand new officers that are getting punched in the face by inmates and they're still there trying to
Please, sir, put the gun down, please, sir.
Trying to talk and de-escalate, and this is what we were seeing over and over and over again. It becomes frustrating and scary, and we used to snatch these young kids up and be like, hey, do you have to get punched in the fucking face for you to do something? And they would just look at you like a deer in the headlights. They were confused. That's how it changed. It became very dangerous. And then I don't know if you want to save that story about the kid getting his neck adjusted by an inmate, but this is the type of environment that was created by the higher ups.
Hey, Hector, so check this out. So when I was an FTO, and we had two commanders at the time, and one of the commanders called me in and kind of gave me una buena regañada, because I used to tell my trainees, hey man, you know what? You learned a lot in the academy. They teach you about liability. Your first two training officers taught you liability, but here I'm going to teach you the real shit. I said, first of all, he goes, there's going to be a time where, your verbal judo bullshit, all that stuff's not going to work, and you're going to have to punch somebody in the face. You're going to have to kick somebody in the balls. Yeah, you're going to have to fucking go for the neck. I mean, it's either that or you're going to get fucking killed. You're not going to make it home. I say, only you know what your abilities are and the capabilities of fucking taking somebody out or what you can do. I said, never second guess yourself. If you think this is it, I have to fucking do a fucking throat punch this fucker, do it. And dude, I had a lot of, I did 23 trainings for Calexico. That's a lot, dude. I mean, I trained a lot of people, and these guys always came back to me and told me, I'll never forget what you told me. And they moved on to other departments. I mean, they become, lieutenants, commanders, captains at bigger departments, and they always come back and tell me the same thing. And I'm pretty sure you were the same way. You went out there and say, hey, look, this is what policy says, but when your life is on the line, fucking throw that fucking book and hit the guy with it. I mean, that's...
Well, that comes with experience. And that comes with being exposed to a lot of violent encounters with the enemy, with the opposing force. And, the good thing about me is that I would show them how to do it within policy, right? Like, hey, the policy doesn't say that you have to hit a guy with fucking 30% of your might.
Yeah.
Like, if you are getting, and I would tell them too, man. And I'm not one to preach violence at all, but I understand the environment. I would tell them, from my military experience, in a violent encounter, the one who is most violent is going to win, right? You just got to shut them down with overwhelming violence. Because these, like we were talking about convicts earlier, these convicts are not playing. These criminals are not playing. When it comes to it, they can and will kill you if that's really what they want.
Yeah.
Hey, Hector, we got two quick questions, and then Chalo will follow up with his question. For Marius Beveradi, welcome to the show, brother. Have you heard if the Norteños and Sureños have united inside Cali prisons? And I'll mention also outside of Cali prisons. What do you know about that?
What up, Marius? Good to see you, man. He calls me the People LT. Yeah, the Norteños and Sureños have definitely united inside Cali prisons, for sure. That was as a result of the end of all hostilities with the Mexican mafia members, the Nuestra Familia, the Black Guerrilla family, and the Aryan Brotherhood in Pelican Bay. That was part of their peace treaty, the agreements. They put their differences aside. They're warring for decades and decades. They put it aside, and you now have them. You actually now have northeños in Southern California prisons. Calipatria, which is fucking deadly. Centinela State Prison, Ironwood, and I didn't believe it till about a year ago. My buddy's a counselor, and I said, "Send me an unlock. Show me a roster." And he shot me the roster. Yeah, you see these dudes with the long hair, norteños. Because I was always, I guess, fascinated by norteños because I never had been around any of them. So I kind of wondered what they look like. How do they operate? So I could get an insight. They're down south for sure now.
Seamus Donahue, how many prisons have been closed? Officially, it's been 3. Is that true?
DVI, I believe CCC, Susanville, Chuckawalla's on the chopping block. California City is on a lease. They should be closing or not extending that lease. They're just closing them down. Yeah.
Hey, Hector, since we're in on that topic, we all know why they're closing them down, right? It's nothing to do with money. This is all our liberal friggin' state with these liberal laws, and I think, we all know, we read the fine print and started, with the AB 109 and probably a little bit prior to that, and we all know that it's these politicians' way of staying in office. You first of all you let these people go, then after you actually let them vote now. And, some of these guys are voting. So what do? They go back to their family and say, hey, you got to vote a certain way. You got to vote Democrat because the Democrats are the ones that let me out of jail. And so we got to keep on voting Democrat, and it's bullshit because they're not voting to whoever is the best candidate. They're voting for just the blue because they want to continue to have all these freebies. I'm so pissed, dude. I can go on for hours talking about this shit, but
I see it. I see it for what it is. And if you think about it, I served 16 years within this whole time frame from when they closed down the psych wards. Remember they had the psych hospitals?
Yeah.
They closed those down, and now you got freaking downtown San Diego, downtown by Petco Park, all the homeless. You got Skid Row in LA. So this has been ongoing for, I want to say 16 years, maybe longer. You look at everything that's happened. AB 109, Prop 57, everything that transpired, right? But I kind of got mixed feelings on all of it. They went about everything the wrong way. And I say I have mixed feelings because I actually have encountered formerly incarcerated individuals or people who were actually in prison that did change their life, right? So here I am seeing something, but again, sexual violent predators. You want to talk about the beginning? I've definitely seen some sexual violent predators get released to the streets. Definitely seen them get released to the streets in my time.
Yeah. And we worked them out here because we would go out there repeat offenders, and you say, man, this guy's a child molester, and he's back out, and we reoffended, within not even a year of being out. So it's bullshit. Or they go to with here in Calexico, they go to Mexicali. They do the shit over there, and then we get call from Mexicali from our counterparts looking for this guy.
Let me add something to that though, because you mentioned like that's more votes for the Democrats, but I'll tell you the truth, man. Especially with my channel and talking to more people, I think everybody's eyes are open now. I think everybody's like sick and tired of the chaos and the BS, and they understand that there has to be law and order as well. They understand that. So it's
just look at San Francisco, bro.
Oh my goodness,
they're doing a 180 right now.
What do you mean?
They can't do it fast enough.
they can't clean up the shit on the street fast enough.
They're trying to they're trying to salvage the Titanic, bro, and it's bullshit, bro.
It's like what Hector said. Once they closed Patton Hospital, we saw it on the streets.
Yeah, we saw it big time
immediately.
Yeah. We saw it in the prison. They came to prison. It was having to fight those guys is fucking nuts. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah, we
ahead,
saw it.
Chalo,
We
your
saw it
next
big time.
question.
Yeah, so here. So Hector, here you go. So just how dangerous is the environment in a level 4 prison? You know, we all here, started our careers all young and dumb, inexperienced. Uh, then you look at the hiring selection process. It was tougher back then than today I think when it started. How was the selection process now compared to back in the days, man? And I'll ask you some more questions because this got about 7 questions in one paragraph. So let's start off with the how dangerous is the environment in the level 4 prison, though.
I love level 4. I love level 4, man. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you're playing in the big boy leagues, right? Like the NFL, like the major leagues. These guys, these convicts that are housed, right? I don't know if I've explained it or not. Difference between an inmate and a convict, right? There's a lot of OG convicts, or there was, on level 4s. They got the higher points. A lot of them have life. They've been around since the beginning of time. They know how to do time. They are respectful. They don't play little games. But the flip side to that is when it kicks off, man. They use knives. They'll try to kill you. But if you're trying to avoid all that little meddling bullshit, yeah, they're not going to play games. I did get tested on the level 4 yard. I did get tested. I was new. But maybe I answered the way I was supposed to or acted the way I was supposed to. And luckily, nothing bad transpired. Level 4s, it is, I never really spoke on this, but level 4s, it is safe to say that every inmate has a weapon on their possession, right? And this is from my experience. Every inmate has one keistered, hooped within their legal paperwork, buried out on the yard, or access to one, easily access to one. You rarely see fist fights with fists. Rarely. You always see weapons, 2-on-1 stabbings, removals. You can carry on conversations with the inmates. Like, again, these are level 4s. If you guys, for the people that are not watching, I guess, let me show you a contrast with a level 3 would be your younger inmates. They'd be kind of like have something to prove. Those fucking level 4s have nothing to prove because they will kill you, and it's well known, right? They've done it already, and I'm cool with that. It's like, I know where you stand. You know where I stand. Let's just hang out for 8 hours. I'm going to get the fuck out of here, right? You can do whatever you want. But the level 3s, they want to talk shit. They want to get in their little group of friends. They want to, test you. They do little fights without knives. So it's less structured. Less structured compared to a level 4.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Hector, one of the things that I noticed was, as the years went by, we had a parolee, when a convict come out, after 12, 14 years, being in there, and these vatos, had a lot of respect on the streets. And so, you build up rapport with them. And I used to go with them when shit was getting hot in La Garra, down in Calexico. I find out who's from La Garra that came out. I go look for him, and I fucking, find him somewhere, and I sit down and say, hey, bro, controla los peewees, bro, or else shit's gonna come down to you, bro. I said, you're the man, you're the one. Oh, but it's not me. No, bro, you run the fucking streets. I don't want none of this shit, dude. Que se calmen, at least fucking for the next 2-3 weeks, bro. I'm getting tired of fucking writing all these stabbing reports, all this shit that's just getting out of hand.
Right,
dude. They take control. As I progressed to being a lieutenant, and then I was in charge of investigations and all this shit. And then I went to one guy one day, and he told me, hey, ¿sabes qué, Charlo? These fucking youngsters don't respect bro, bro. He goes, I can go talk to them, but you know what, dude? I'm fucking older now. I'm fucking 55, 56, 60 years old. They're going to fucking want to shank me, bro. So I got to be careful. I said, okay, bro. I mean, if you can't do it, bro, cool. I said, we'll take care of it on our side. I said, but I wanted to give you a chance to fucking, and sometimes, bro, they would tell us, let's get do whatever you want to.
yeah,
fuck it, dude.
right.
I mean, I can't do nothing, bro. These fucking kids are out of control.
Let me tell you 2 stories in relation to that. It was level 4, Charlie Yard, Sentinel State Prison. I had a black porter in there. I think it was an old school crib. OG, straight OG, man. We would converse. And I would say, hey, what's up with these youngsters? And he's like, they won't listen to us, man. They won't listen to us. If they'll take off on us because they have no respect. They'll take off on us. And I remember thinking this was in the year 2012. So you can see kind of that change was already happening. Fast forward to Donovan about 2 years ago. I was a lieutenant, Echo Yard, where the Menendez brothers are housed. I was in the program office. An older black inmate came in, and I saw a 60s tattoo on his forearm. And I said, rolling 60s, huh? And he looked at me, and he's like, I used to be. I go, man, what's up with these youngsters, OG? And he's like, man, it's like they locked us up and nobody left those kids the playbook. And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
That's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hector, we got a question from Seamus Donahue. Explain how a level 3 yard flips to a level 4 yard. I thought it was about design. Level 3, 270, and level 4, 180.
It's a great question.
It is. Good question.
So let me just talk by a level 4 270 design and a level 4 180 design. Centinela State Prison, Charlie Yard is a level 4 270 design. You'll have 5 buildings. If you walk into one building, you're going to be able to see A section of the day room, B section of the day room, and C section of the day room. Everything's open. A 180, because I have visited 180 buildings, A section is pardoned off. B section is pardoned off. There's doors that allow you to from one section of the building to the other. So you can see how it's more secured. You know what I mean? Less access. So that's the difference between a 270 and a 180. I was on Charlie Yard level 3, Centinela when it was level 3. This was 2007. They flipped it in late 07 or early 08. The yard, I think it already had that fence down the middle. So you'll see on a level 4 yard, there's way more gates and fences. Way more. I mean, around the track, down the line, down the center of the yard, to cordon off less inmates in one congregated spot so we can control violence. You know what I mean? And then all they do, this is kind of cool, I guess. They start shipping out all the level 3s. Man, you can have one inmate in one building for like 2 days where your count is 1. So it's like you, your gunner, or whatever, and just chilling with that inmate. Because I was in the gym and there was like one inmate in there. I'm like, come here, man, count time. We'll start laughing and shit because it's just 1. And then they just backfill with level 4s. The thing about flipping yards is, hey, man, when somebody's new or you have a new crowd, they're going to establish their dominance. They're going to establish which tables are which, Mexicans, blacks, whites, others, which drinking fountains are which showers. So you'll see some skirmishes in the beginning for fight for control.
Wow.
All right, Benny, go ahead. Benny, you're next.
Well, part of Chalo's question was missed, but I'm going to bring it up with this thing right here. Many of us have seen or heard of the young correctional officer who had his inmate adjust his neck or conduct a chiropractic move on him. Who do we blame for that? And as a former CDCR sergeant, officer sergeant, and later lieutenant, how would you handle that situation as an officer? In other words, as him as your partner, or as sergeant, as you as his supervisor, or lieutenant? And part of the question that Chalo that we missed on Charlo's was, are the people getting hired up to the task of working in such dangerous and violent environments? I mean, do they have what it takes? I mean, obviously this kid, I'm calling him a kid because he looked like a kid, didn't have it.
So to answer your question on which type of individuals are getting hired for the job, they're not all lames. All right. When I say they're not all lames, I worked with a lot of new kids, not a lot, a handful. Guys that, probably had good upbringings, guys that have that drive. There's warriors. It's something I realized, you don't need to be a supervisor. You don't need to have been in the army to be a warrior. Some dudes just fucking have it, right? We're like fucking like cavemen, whatever the hell is in our DNA to fucking fight. Some dudes just have that shit. So not everybody's a Starbucks from barista. That kid was. That's a who's to blame? Everybody. Everybody could have been stopped. That's like a fucking fluke, like a fluke. But it's the environment. It's the environment fostered by administration. Even though everybody's to blame, let me tell you. Last year, one of the reasons I resigned is because we had an associate director come down to Donovan, have us sit at a table, sergeants and lieutenants, and verbally tell us, because he knew better not to put it on paper, verbally tell us, you guys can no longer put inmates in handcuffs. Because when you try to put them in handcuffs and they attack you, that's your fault. You started that. So,
Hey, was this guy a correctional officer before? Or was he just like a guy that was a counselor or somebody? I mean, putting them
Paper
down.
pusher.
This fucking guy started his spill by saying, "Hey, I was a correctional officer at Salinas Valley State Prison. I saw my partners get life flighted, covered in blood. I think the motherfucker was watching old war movies or making shit up or stealing other people's stories. Because if that was the case, you would know what time it was." And there's people in here in the comments that I know who they are. They know that person individual. I mean, they know him like personally, and they said that dude was a fucking lame on walk alone status back then. So
Wow.
so when you have, and that's not the bad part. While that is the bad part, when you got a room full of experienced sergeants and lieutenants telling him no, and the millions of reasons why, and he doubles down, triples down, quadruples down, now it's a problem, right? Like, now we see what's going on. Then you got the whole Norway project. I don't know if you guys are aware of the whole Norway project.
No.
If you're not, our wise governor, in all his fucking wisdom, sent the head honchos of CDCR to Norway to go tour their fucking prisons and learn how they're doing it and bring it back to California and do this here, which in essence, they're being ran like college dorms over there.
Yes, they are.
But we have common sense, man. You have every gang under the sun here in California. And there is not a fucking rule or law that we can tell them that's going to stop their politics, right? They're going to do what they're going to do. We're going to quell the violence, but they're not going to go for that shit, man.
Hey, Hector, they have that. I think YouTube has videos of those prisons in Norway, and if people don't believe you, they can go on there, just put it, Norway prison, and it shows they're dorms. They're actually dorms.
So now that we're talking about this, and you asked who's to blame. Okay, you have the new officers that are fucking baristas from Starbucks. And no disrespect to the baristas, because I actually still to this day would like to be one. I just don't like dealing with people. But so them, you have the whole de-escalation thing that I told you that got out of control, where they're literally getting bitch slapped around. Saw that a few times, and still trying to talk to this guy. You have that associate director putting his bullshit down, saying you can't put inmates in handcuffs. So you can see, being a new kid, there is a thing called common sense, right? But not everybody has common sense. So he let this fucking OG inmate, but you can read people's demeanors. Just like I said, there's fucking warriors that are from blood, warriors that are born. There's also some passive individuals, and I'm not calling this guy a little bitch, but technically I am. You could tell by his body language that this guy was so passive. It's like my female dog that I have. She's fucking afraid of me, so she'll lay on her back and shit and piss. Some people have that reaction when they're fucking intimidated. That is not a place for prison.
Hey, so Hector's real quick, guys. So people probably know what's going on, but I mean, let me describe the video. So the video shows a correctional officer. They're inside like
The housing unit.
Housing unit right there, and the guy's standing there, an inmate, a correctional officer in uniform, somebody's videotaping, and this fucking monster looking friggin' black inmate, dude. I mean, the guy, David said he looked like Suge Knight. Big guy goes up to him, touches him. First of all, gets really close and touches the guy, right? And then he goes around to the other side, grabs his neck, and the guy grabs his neck and he freaking cracks his neck. And so when we're looking at that, I'm going like, is this freaking for I mean, we all watched it and we said, is this shit for real? I mean, first of all, I don't care whatever in your law enforcement, whether it be fed, state, municipal, you don't let anyone get close to you. And then number two, a friggin' inmate, and you're in a facility where you're letting this guy do that. He could have killed and he would have said, well, he told me to crack his neck. I'm not a chiropractor. Hey, I do it for funsies and fucking like I didn't mean to kill him. I had no intent. He wanted to get adjusted. We're still here. We came on to this show and we started the show, and in our minds we all had this fucking like this, what the hell's going on? This is bullshit. Where's candid camera guy gonna come out and say you're on candid camera? For us,
So you asked about his partners, man. You asked about his partner, and I've been talking to my former peers. Right, I have communication with everybody, man. I like talking, and okay, Donovan is like cursed, like the Bermuda Triangle. You guys are aware with the Bermuda Triangle? It's just weird shit, right? I cannot explain the stuff that happens at Donovan. It's just so. I talked to current supervisors there, and they said, oh, if I walked in there, I would have put the building down. I would have body slammed the inmate. But I'm like, hold up, bro. Hold up. Let's think about it. Because if I would have walked in, right, me personally, I would have walked in, I would have seen the motherfucking holding his neck and his head. The thing I would have seen was that there's no alarm ringing. The inmate is not, the officer is not yelling for help.
He's fucking smiling.
The other inmates he's smiling. The other inmates are walking around. So I would initially think like, what the fuck? And I would want to do an about face and walk away, pretend I didn't see it, right? But there's body worn cameras now. So that's just the type of environment that is Donovan. You wacky, weird shit that you walk into some bullshit.
It's like a sink and swim environment, huh?
It's better to walk around like this.
Oh
man.
My God.
You gotta blame Old Time Mountain.
What happened to the prisoner?
It's kind of fucked up, but he got sent to ADSEG and got charged with battery on a peace officer. Man, I'm sure
they ain't gonna.
That's bullshit.
They're not gonna book. I've already been talking to other lieutenants. They're like, cut him loose, man. Like we've encountered not that bad, but we've encountered some stupid shit before. Like one inmate walked up to an officer and went like this to him and gave him dabs and dabbed his chest. So he put him in handcuffs and said, "You battered me," hit the alarm. But the question to the officer is like, "Hey, why did that inmate feel so comfortable to be able to walk up to you and give you dabs like that?
Yep.
Like what are you guys doing in here?" So we cut that dude loose too, because we're not trying to fuck over these inmates for some stupid ass shit that we're doing.
Hey Hector, so since we're on the thing about new guys and the way the new generation thinks, I go to a briefing one day and I'm a lieutenant and I'm just watching and hearing it. I'm watching my guys and I said, hey, you know what? I have a question. I said, I just curiosity in my mind. I said, don't feel bad, guys. I said, I want an honest answer. I said, how many of you guys here have been in fistfights? Off duty, chingazos, where you go eat somewhere, in Mexicali, or I said, and I told him, you go to Mexica Tacos and somebody recognizes you and he fucking wants to be, and te agarras chingazos, you go to drink or you go to a restaurant with your family, anywhere, and you got chingazos. I was so surprised, dude, and I was surprised and scared that only like 1/3 of my guys had ever gotten chingazos in their lives prior to being cops. These guys had never, of course, my military guys. I mean, they especially the Marines. They fight each other even before they go out and fucking. They're for fun.
Right.
They get bored. They want to beat each other up.
Right.
Hey, that's fun. But the other guys, I was going like, son of a bitch. I said, and I told them. Then I went to you guys were never chased as little kids coming home from school. You guys were never bullied in school. You never had to stand up for yourself and threw chingazos at school. No. I said, holy shit.
The problem is that they haven't been exposed to the possibilities. Working in a prison, it's not 100% of the time that you're going to get stabbed or 100% of the time you're going to get stomped out by 100 guys, but the possibility is there. And a lot of us have participated and been involved in that type of violence towards staff members. And what do they say? Complacency kills. The whole point is to never get complacent. The whole This is what I used to say. This is what I used to say before the great state mixed everybody all up. I used to say, treat every inmate like a level 4. Well, what do you mean, LT? Treat them like shit? I said, did I say fucking treat them like shit? I said, treat every inmate like a level fucking 4. Because it doesn't matter if they're a level 3, a level 2, or a level 1. I've seen them go up and down in points. I've seen level 1 inmates assault staff. I've seen inmates about to get on the van to parole and turn around and assault staff for whatever reason. Politics, or they got orders. They don't want to go to the streets. They don't have a place to go. We do this because of the probability of shit happening.
So Hector, I got another question here. What was your plan if you were taken hostage when you were working? The chances are great when working in a prison. Those are realities in working there. What was your plan? If you don't want to give away your plan, we understand. There's a lot of different people listening to the show. We don't want to give away any secrets.
I'm not going to give away secrets. I did read that right before I got on here. I'm not going to give away secrets, but my just overall plan was always to be resist. And that's something I've learned or watched from prisoners of wars, POWs from like Vietnam or World War II is, you always got to resist or always have to find a means to escape. So that was going to be my, resist or try to escape. Having been in the crisis response team, and the hostage rescue is bread and butter, hostage negotiations, there is no doubt that they will fucking free me. They're going to either free me dead or free me alive, but those motherfuckers are going to pay for it. And that's good enough for me. It's kind of like I'm confident in the ability to get rescued. And knowing what I know now, I'm just going to sit there patiently until the help comes, right? Because I'm not going to flail my arms and make myself a target to the good guys or, right, I'm going to just hit the ground and let them do their thing. And they're going to do their thing. I don't think, nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about this. Nobody puts an emphasis on this. But it's not a good idea to take anybody hostage in the state of California or anywhere for that matter. But yeah, there's definitely measures and measures for that.
Go ahead, Big Sean.
Hey, Hector, when working a gun post, what's the priority of that gunner? And can you tell us how much training the COs assigned to that position get and who assigns that position?
Let me tell you something, man. This all goes back to your former questions of are people cut for the job? Are people right for the job? You don't know how many times I've seen you officers up there not paying attention, shutting their windows up there in the gun booth when their partner is fighting an inmate. Listen to what I just said. Their partner is fighting an inmate on the floor, screaming for help, and the officer goes over there and puts up the window because it's just too loud for him. So you can imagine me seeing this shit as a sergeant or a lieutenant, watching the video afterwards, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Right?
His scream scared him, huh?
But I'll tell you the truth, man. Even what year was it? 2008, when I was in Charlie Gym. Me and my partner got surrounded by the Sureños. That whole gym was full of Sureños, Southern Hispanic Mexicans. And we got surrounded up against the wall. We got backed up. And I look up at the gunner. It was a female, and she was sitting there exactly like I'm sitting here, looking like if she was watching a show. And with no gun in her hand, not standing up. And I remember thinking, like, fuck. The inmates looked back, and they had their smirk on their face, like, yeah, she ain't going to do shit. Priority of a gunner is just safety of your officers, number one. Priority of your gunner is to ensure that your weapon is in functioning condition, right? Priority of a gunner is to not finger fuck the trigger and have a negligent discharge up there, not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing. Priority of a gunner is to check your rounds accountability, ensure that you have the proper lethal rounds and the proper less lethal rounds and accounted for. Running, now you could even go extra, running scenarios in your head. All right, if there's a fucking stabbing on this side of the day room, what am I going to do? If there's a stabbing or a fight on this side of the day room, how am I going to respond? Because you're up there, you have buttons to push, doors to open, alarms to sound, a radio to get on, people to shoot. You're multitasking. Right. I guess you could just close the window and call it a day, but that would be your priority, safety of everybody involved on the floor.
I'm surprised they weren't on the phone. Well, where you're getting surrounded.
Another scary thing is identifying people prior to them coming up to the gun post. You, God forbid, you let the wrong fucking person up, because that happened at the Arizona Lewis hostage situation in Arizona. You know, you let the wrong person up into a control booth, it's game over. You just let a person have access to a Mini 14.
Has anybody dropped their weapon from the catwalk or the tower?
It's happened. It's happened. Never nowhere around me or any prison. Oh my God, my heart would drop. That was a legit fear of mine. A gun being on a yard. That was a legitimate fear of mine. How the fuck are we gonna unfuck this mess? But it's happened. It's happened in other places.
Damn.
Wait, go ahead, Chalo.
Whew. Hey, can you tell us what are some of the ways inmates have tested you in the past? If you are a new CO, will they test you? And one of the things, there is a saying, they're trying to determine if you're prey or a predator. And what are some of the key takeaways of this?
What testing will look like, basic at your very minimal level, would be sitting at the podium in a housing unit. You have inmates that have never seen you before. You look brand spanking new. They come up and they say, "Hey, can I have a trash bag?" If some fucking officer will just open their damn drawer, give them a trash bag without asking any questions or telling them no, we call that giving up the house. That's a test. The inmate's seeing if you're going to give them anything. Luckily, I worked with partners in the beginning that their answer was always no. No. Can I have this? No. Can I have this? No. Which makes it kind of easier because they know. So they'll ask for a trash bag so they can cook soups in. Rubber bands so they can braid their hair. Bed moves. Hey, I want to move from this cell to this cell. Luckily, in the beginning, I was never a regular in a building. I kind of bounced around a lot. So I would say I don't do bed moves. I'm not going to move anybody as a regular. But these are all little things that they're seeing. If you're going to say yes, if you're going to say no, and what more can they ask? To see if they're going to test if you're a punk or a bitch, reflecting back, I think it was just a lot of youth versus youth mentality. Egos. Working in the kitchen on Bravo Yard at Centinela, there's a back dock area. A back dock is where in the kitchen area in the back, they have the dumpsters. They come. There's a gate. You're never supposed to let an inmate unattended back there in the dock area. And I knew this because the OGs would tell me. So I would tell them, "Hey, man, I remember there was these two brothers from 18th Street. One of them looked fucking mean as fuck, like bald, like Sureño, of course. And we were back there. I said, "Hey, take it to the front or take it inside." He gave me this fucking dirty ass look or called me a fucking name, and I didn't appreciate it. I was young too. You got two young dudes hot-headed in the back dock of a fucking kitchen. And I said, "Hey, dude, take it inside." And he looked at me and said, "What a joke." Called me a joke. But I have a choice, man. Am I gonna fight the guy in the back over a fucking some name calling? No, I'm gonna get in trouble. I got pissed, I'll tell you that much. But like, I didn't back down. I didn't bite and I didn't back down, if that makes sense. I kind of just stayed on his heels as we went inside. That's what I like, is when they talk shit, but they do what you tell them. versus when they talk shit and they fucking don't do what you tell them. They either fight you or just not comply. And then the ultimate testing is when they kind of throw it out there. Hey, one dude told me, "Hey, too bad you're not down with the business. There's a lot of money to be made." I said, "Oh," I got pissed, man. I took that as a sign of disrespect. The same way that I would never go up to an inmate and say, "Hey, give me information on who's bringing in dope. Give me information on where the weapons are being made." I don't expect nobody to come up to me and tell me to join their side or bring in contraband. And I was working the clinic and I opened the back door. I said, "Come out here." Because I was pretty wild with it, man. My fucking style was to isolate them and confront. Well, damn, I can't believe I just said that. That was my style, is to isolate and confront. I said, hey, what the fuck did you just tell me? And he played dumb. He's like, what'd you say? And I'm like, hey, you said, too bad I'm not down with the business because there's lots of money to be had. He's like, nah, man, I would never disrespect you like that. And I got, and then I just said, like, take it inside, man. And then we kind of, it's kind of, maybe that was a test. And he fucking failed.
Wow.
Hey Hector, we got another question from Seamus Donahue. Did you study the 1980 New Mexico State prison riot?
So check this out, man. Without giving up too much game, I told you I was in the crisis response team. It is part of the lecture and part of the studies to know a lot of previous incidents that happened. Waco, Ruby Ridge, that one. Yeah.
Case studies.
Case studies. There you go.
Hey, so this is my next question. So, how did you train to de-escalation, and what if the de-escalation fails? I mean, there's a time for talking and actively defending yourself. So what, how do you train? How do you train for de-escalation?
Everything I learned was through experience, trial and error, age, wisdom, experience, meaning like, hey, when I was younger, yes, of course, I was a hothead, or 22 years old with a chip on my shoulder, getting tested left and right. As you get older, or as I got older, and as I promoted up the ranks, sergeant, lieutenant, comes with a bit of status, I guess you can say, amongst people, meaning they show you a little bit more respect. They tell you good morning every damn day. De-escalation to me, man, it was like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was like a fucking master of it at Donovan. But there's a lot of staff members that are masters of it because of the population. The population there are some fucking nutcases, literally mentally ill inmates, where you have to like, we call them EOP whisperers. You have to talk to them like in their language, like, hey, buddy. Like if there's a stray dog, right, it's growling, it's like, hey, buddy, come here. Right? So it's like you got to learn how to fucking move in that environment. Where you guys were going to say something, or?
No, it's just.
So yeah, de-escalation. Come to find out, from a lot of these guys just want to be heard, and they may or may not have an issue. Okay, so I go over there, hey man, what's going on? What's up? This, and this, LT. And then I go and I look into it, depending if I have time or not. And I'm telling you, that prison is so fucked up. 5 out of 5 times, 6 out of 5 times, they had a legitimate reason to be upset. And the other times, they were just knuckleheads. And the knuckleheads, I met them where they were at. And I kind of been letting the cat out of the bag lately on my YouTube, but when you would have an inmate holding a holding cell and refusing to come out, meaning, hey, he has to go somewhere, but he's not coming out, right? That's now going to become an incident. Like you have to cell extract them. Well, they become cell warriors. They start talking shit. Oh, I'm going to fuck you up. Come in here and get me, bitch, on my dead homies. And they just start their whole fucking charades, right?
If you didn't have a badge, I'd kick your ass.
Yeah. If you didn't have a badge, take that belt off, this and that. So like I said, man, I'm so old. Well, I say I'm old, but I was so tired of the bullshit. I would walk up to him very calmly and say, listen to me, man. I'm going to open this door and smash you to fucking smithereens. I'm going to break every goddamn bone in your body. You hear me? And they would like look at me with their eyes open. I would just say things like, I'm going to pile drive you through this fucking ground right now, man. And then they would like say, oh, yeah, you're just saying that. You're a lieutenant. You're not going to be the first one to come through this door. And then I would, I don't think I was bluffing, but I would start taking off my rank. I shouldn't be doing this. And I would say, I don't think you know who you're talking to, man. I don't give a fuck. Because prior to having my daughter, I didn't give a fuck, right? It's not that I didn't want to get fired. It's not that I had just my patience level. But you would be surprised. You talk to somebody like that, they come out. They do come out willingly. They'll be thanking you afterwards. But they come out. And if they don't come out, then we just go through the program, go through the motion, cell extraction. But they love testing your patience for sure. Go
ahead, Benny.
Hector, as you're talking, I'm getting messages out here from friends on my phone. They're all working in San Quentin. They're both friends of ours, David and ours, Teresa and Jose, who worked at San Quentin, and they work the high security area up there. He said they're all out there watching. There's a lot of guards out there watching. They love you. They love your show. They support you 100%, bro. So
appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Just to let you know.
Shout out to San Quentin.
Yeah. As a leader and based on your experience, how would you prepare staff for an internal affairs investigation? What do you tell officers about talking to IA?
You know what would be great? What would be cool if IA didn't have a hidden agenda or an agenda in general? If IA was strictly IA, hey man, I was alleged or accused of doing this. Let's look at the facts. You take my evidence into consideration. You take my testimony into consideration, and we come with a happy result. But I think I hear you guys laughing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's more like, well, what do you mean you didn't see this? My motherfucker, I didn't see this. How many times do I have to tell you I didn't see this? Right? Because if I would have seen it, I would have put it in my report. I know policy. Well, how did your friend see it, but you didn't see it? Motherfucker, I don't know. I'm not my fucking friend. He was standing over there. I was standing over here. Right? So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of twisting of the words, asking you the same exact question in 10 different ways so that they can catch you slipping. And so they can say, I got you. I got you. I got you for being dishonest. You're fired. You're terminated. I got you for using excessive use of force. Now it doesn't, maybe it's not all like that. Like I've been under investigation, sitting across from OA, being recorded, tape recorded, you know, and I didn't get fucking fired or adverse action. But then again, I'm not a fucking idiot, right? I know what not to say, what to say, pretty much say the damn truth. Pretty much just say the truth, right? I never put myself into positions that I couldn't get myself out of. I wasn't around people that did dumb shit, or you just, if, you know, dumb shit was being done. My advice would be take a lawyer. Take a lawyer. I have completely given up on the union, right? They're in bed with the governor. If you don't believe me, look at every raise that you get in the Norway project.
Yeah.
Take a lawyer. I've taken many union reps. A lot of my friends were union reps, but I'm talking about when your job is on the line, why not take a lawyer, man? Just take a fucking lawyer. Your lawyer may not chime in and defend you, which is the majority of the time, but they know. I think their mere presence prevents that OIA agent from overstepping his boundaries. Because you got to remember, it's not just an OIA agent. For those that have never been under an investigation, this is what it looks like. You get an email, supposed to be with a enough notice. They'll send that shit to you 24 hours in advance. You have an interview fucking tomorrow. You got to scramble to get representation. You got to meet up in the front of admin. There's an office there. There's a fucking special agent who pretends to be your buddy. Hey, Hector, how's it going, man? Everything all good? Well, that's kind of creepy, right? You have Office of Inspector General, OIG fucking individual in the room. You're there with your representation. There's a fucking video recording, right? State your name, Lieutenant Hector Farrell. All right. How long have you been working? 16 years. Okay, I'm Special Agent so-and-so. This is Office of Internal Affairs, OIG Agent so-and-so. Boom. Did you work on such and such date? That's another thing. If you're going through this shit, make sure you print out all your fucking damn, I can't believe I'm giving up game right here. Make sure you print out all your reports, right? That's yours. Print out all your reports, get the incident packets, and review it. Yeah, you know what? It does say I was here that day. Okay, well, do you remember this? Yeah, I remember that, or I don't remember that, whatever the circumstance is. Okay, do you know this inmate? I'm not sure. I work around 1,000 inmates a day. You know, well, he says that you called him a fucking asshole. No, they caught you on camera. You call him a fucking asshole, then you call him a fucking asshole. And that's where we are these days. Everybody has body worn camera, right? But yeah, if you lie, you're gonna get caught in a lie. And this is what I used to tell people too, man. If you fucked up, own up to it. own up to it, take your fucking licks, don't do that shit again, and move the fuck on. And they would tell me, thank you, LT. Like, I owned up to it. And all I got was this, and that. I'm like, hey, bro, at least you're not fucking fired.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used
Hey,
to tell.
Hector. Go ahead, Big Sean.
I used to tell the recruits and stuff like that. If you ever gotten called into IA, if they ask you a question, you better tell them the truth because they already know the answer.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, Hector, tell us about your new book. I understand you're writing a new book. What is it about, and when is it coming out?
I actually haven't even started the new book yet. I'm kind of in the process of doing some other things. Like, yeah, I'm in the process of working on other things. So the new book kind of, it's still a goal of mine, but I kind of have to knock out these other projects prior. And I'm just enjoying the moment right now, you know, with the current book, with the networking, meeting you guys, meeting the viewers, and it's just like, hey, I'm soaking it all in.
Like, can you share some of the projects you're working on, Hector, with us?
So, I got a military background as well. Some people have taken notice of my deployment in Iraq and kind of want to do some work around that and dive into that whole 13-month deployment.
Outstanding. Yes. Sean, any last questions for Hector?
No, just a great show as always, Hector.
Likewise.
I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I like chopping it up with you guys, man. You guys are legends to me. I was watching you guys' pictures in your intro, and like, there's something to be said about that time frame, about your guys' era. Like, that is fucking honestly, it's
and I
like,
know we touched on it earlier, but it's just like what you were talking about, the newer COs and the prison systems. It's just as bad out in the street.
Oh, I bet.
And and it's just the way the youngsters are right now.
Big Benny, any last questions for Hector?
Remember, fear the green and white coming at you. You knew that we meant business back then,
That's right.
Thank you, Hector, for coming on the podcast. And there's so many other topics we wanted to touch on, but look, we're way over our time. We want to talk about mentoring, promoting, PTSD, just to name a few. Can you tell our listeners about your book, the one that's out, Operation Yard Recall, because it gives you a lot of information.
Yeah, Operation Yard Recall. I wrote that. Basically, the format's gonna be like a lesson, right? It's gonna be a lesson of how to maneuver through the prison, and then it's gonna have a story of how I used it how it was an experience, and then on the bottom is going to have the keynotes, right? The important things. So you didn't have to just be working in a prison to read that book. There's, like you said, leadership, a lot of, man, all you have to do is be a good fucking person, man. You don't got to be an all-star. You don't got to be a shining star. You don't got to be a dick. Just be a good fucking person, and you can be able to get through life or any fucking challenges for the most part.
Exactly.
Where can we get
Chalo, any last words?
Benny, you had a follow-up question?
Oh, go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, where can we get your book? How can people get your book?
Amazon, Operation Yard Recall by Hector Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hector, you know what, man? It's always really good and honor to actually, you went up the ranks just like I did, and there's a lot of similarities between you and I. The only thing I didn't do was military, but I grew up with a father who was a Korean War vet. So he raised us like, he was in the Army. So my dad, always brought us up, man, woke us up at 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, on weekends, even if we had been drinking.
Yeah.
He'll wake us up and make us do all the work around the house, man. So, I understand. One of the things that I admire from you is the fact that there's a time and place where we have to speak up, man. And we have to put it out there and not stay quiet, especially when it comes to speaking up against your a chief, a lieutenant, your city manager, somebody that's doing corrupt shit. I can't stay quiet, dude. And because of the way I was character-wise, I was placed on an admin leave for 360 days.
Wow.
And my notice of internal affairs was the conduct unbecoming. That was it, bro.
That's kind of a general one they get
yeah.
you with.
And so
Cuba.
my orders were the first time they ever put somebody in the history of Calexico where I had to be home between 8 and 12 and 1 and 5. Had to check in the morning and at night. So I told my wife, you know what? They don't have anything on me. They want to get me slipping out at Home Depot or Jack in the Box or getting, a tea or something. So man, it was like being locked up, bro. The good thing about it, bro, that I did lose some weight. I did a lot of cardio shit here at the house because I was going nuts. But other than that, dude, I told my wife, man, I was in prison, bro. So
Right.
hats off, bro. I mean, to me, like you said, bro, it's the person that you are. I don't give a shit, dude. I know people that are just officers that are great people. I know people that are, midline, and then at the same time, I know people that are up there, down there, they're assholes, and I would never work for them. I
Right.
would never work for these people, dude. And so hats off, bro. I enjoy hearing your shows, dude, because sometimes some of the stuff you say, dude, I can put faces to my career and say, oh shit, we had this guy, man. Damn, is he talking about this, Vato? Did he go to CDCR or what, man?
Yeah.
Because she's. But anyways, bro, thank you a lot, Hector. I really appreciate
Likewise.
you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Hey, Hector, once again, brother, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Our prayers are with you. If you ever want to come back, actually, you're going to come back to the show. This is your
Yeah.
show. This is your
Yeah.
second home.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you again, brother. And
Yeah.
and blessings on your next endeavors, whether they were the
Thank you.
military, your book. Hey, blessings on that, brother. Y mil gracias. De
Thank
todos
you.
nosotros.
Thank you for having. Yeah, I want to have you guys host you guys on my channel too, maybe one by one. I'll reach out to you guys in the emails, but man, I want to pick your guys' brain.
Go for it.
Most
Yeah.
definitely,
Most
brother.
definitely.
Thank you.
Most
God
definitely.
bless you, huh? Take it easy,
Thank
brother.
Hey, real
Right.
quick, like,
Thanks,
hey,
Hector.
David, 1967 kid, man. Our prayers are with you guys in Puerto Rico. I guess
Yes.
he said that there's two hurricanes that are looks like
Yes.
they're going to get
Yes.
hit.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. You know what? Stand by to stand by. Puerto Rico cannot take another hurricane.
Yeah. I know, but
Yeah.
you know
Hector.
what? Blessings, brother, and prayers for you
Hector,
guys.
Yes, sir.
Hector, I'm getting a question right here from San Quentin.
Shoot it.
They're asking me, I wonder if Hector can expose. Let me see.
Okay, la chinga.
Expose
I wonder-
what?
I wonder if Hector can expose what Gavin Goosen is doing to San Quentin.
Oh, I already
Oh,
have.
yeah.
It's a Norway project. It's on my channel. It's a Norway project, San Quentin Rehabilitation
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
All right, Hector. Hey, thank you, brother. God bless you. And we'll be
Thank
seeing you soon, brother.
Dale, pues.
Thank you,
All right.
gentlemen.
God
Later,
bless
bro.
you. Take it easy, bro. All right.
Wow.
Hey, guys, once again, man, what an outstanding interview, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Hector, he's the real deal, man. Real
Yep,
deal.
yes.
With that
Sure
said,
is.
Benny, tell us who's on next week.
Well, next week we got a former FBI and DOJ special agent by the name of Kenneth Strange. He has over 40 years of investigative experience, and he has traveled over 65 countries. He is a Spanish speaker and author of an award-winning travel adventure book, It's Your Camino. That's what the title of the book is. His newest best-selling book is a true crime memoir. It's called A Cop's Son. It's a story of one G-man's fight against jihad and the cartels. It's going to be fascinating to learn how the Joint Terrorism Task Force works and keeps us all safe. So it's going to be a very good interview. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
You know what, Benny? I started reading that book yesterday on my flight from Tampa to San Diego. It was a 7-hour flight. I'm on, I think, chapter 15. It's one of those books you pick up, you don't want to drop. I mean, it is a great book. I can't wait. I got a bunch of questions just from those 15 chapters. I'm looking forward to having him on. Man, this guy is the real deal. He's the Jack Ryan of the FBI, and he even talks about Jack Ryan. So it's going to be good. With that said, guys, Sean, last words to our listeners.
Just live tactically and be safe.
Big Benny.
Just those working that thin blue line and putting their lives at risk, prepare for the fight of your life, fight dirty, get tough and mean, train, know the job, and know that, I mean, the job's dangerous. Don't hesitate. Remember, hesitation kills. Remember the deadly errors of others. Don't miss those danger signs. Stay in the fight and survive. Never give up. And remember, experience comes from our many mistakes.
Big Chalo.
Integrity means everything, buddy. Everything. Everybody out there. And it's not only for law enforcement, but in your life. If you have integrity, you will do better.
And always remember, live a purpose-driven life. Live every day like it's your last day on earth. And you know what? You don't need a badge. You don't need a uniform to make a difference. We were born sheepdogs, and we're going to die sheepdogs. Keep
Amen.
saving lives. God bless you, and stay safe. Here we go.